Relevant Recruiter Show. This is Donnie Gupton coming at you today. Today we're going to be talking about how to drive and convert more leads using the relevant recruiter method. So as we dive in there right now, if you guys are with me live, if you can go ahead and give me a like, comment, let me know that you can hear me. That would be amazing. And every time you like and comment, it goes a little bit further and might get another person to be able to watch this video here. So I'm going to dive right into the training today. I'm talking about converting inbound leads. Here's the thing. I mean, the traditional desk model just isn't generating the results that it used to. Not saying it's completely broken, but there's certainly better ways out there to drive and convert traffic to your business, whether it's clients or candidates. And so today we're going to be talking a lot about inbound lead generation, specifically using the relevant recruiter method. And like I said, if you guys are just getting with me live, if you go ahead and give me a like, comment, thumbs up, let me know that you're here, drop a comment. That would be amazing. So, some of the symptoms that you might want to pay attention to are, first and foremost, very basically, hey, if cold calling just isn't delivering the results that it used to, this training will really hit home for you. If you had, big projections, big goals right now in the market, very candidate-driven market, I've seen a couple people talk about maybe some slowdown in some markets, but for the whole, it still seems like there's plenty of hiring going on right now. But if you aren't hitting your projection, if you aren't hitting your numbers, this training will hit home. And if you're, working harder and harder for the same result, then this training is definitely going to be for you. So let's talk about in general what some of the challenges are with the desk model. A lot of it is, first and foremost, everything is outbound. And when we're doing things outbound, a lot of times we're just kind of putting ourselves into a commodity bucket. We're just another recruiter on the other end of the phone. So that's one of the first challenges, that a lot of us in this industry are just kind of becoming commodities because of the outbound type of approach. The second thing is outbound a lot of times isn't leveraged. And a lot of folks are still doing things one-to-one. And the reality of it is there's a lot of recruiting companies out there now that are doing things one-to-many. And with more reach, we create more opportunities. Okay. So those are kind of a couple of the main challenges that we're facing. The other thing that we're really facing has nothing to do with the recruiting industry in general, just has to do with people and attention spans. And that is capturing people's attention in general. When you look at your candidates right now, how many messages they're getting from other recruiters, that alone is enough. But when we start to think about just their day in general, when it has nothing to do with their job, the average person nowadays sees anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 advertisements per day. So if you're not getting through, if you're not cutting through that noise, you're just leaving a lot on the table. So this is really where the relevant recruiter method comes into play. Okay. And the relevant recruiter method is, a methodology that I came up with about 5 years ago. It's specifically for independent recruiters and boutique agency recruiting firms. And, the whole idea with the relevant recruiter method is to generate inbound leads. And if you haven't experienced an inbound phone call, it's a complete game changer for your business, because it allows you to, first and foremost, control the call. Second, rather than making a bunch of outbound calls all day long and 90% of that effort being nobody else on the other end, now we're getting on the phone with people that actually want to be on the other end there with us. So that's really some of the most powerful things. We all know that the game is going to be won on the phone if you're going to be successful in this industry. And just how you get on the phone, if you can change that, will be a game changer for you. So the first thing that you want to do is you really want to focus on how you can differentiate from the next recruiter or recruiting firm. Okay. I refer to this as standing out in the marketplace. Again, a lot of us have become commodities just by the way that we've been approaching our market. And just by, getting clear on your ideal client and your ideal avatar is a game changer. And what I see a lot of people do is they come into the industry, they start getting business, and they get business from multiple different ways, and being able to fill multiple different positions. And so they naturally get kind of locked in this generalist place. And, being a generalist is really no issue when it comes to recruiting, but being a generalist when you're trying to build out a system and you're trying to get inbound leads will lead to a big problem, because you're not talking to a specific market. And so that's the first thing is you want to get clarity on what is your specific ideal audience, what is your niche target market, if you will, that you want to be working with, because then everything becomes more clear. Then I know as I go into the next step, which would be to figure out how you are different, your unique advantage to this market. Well, I want to figure out how I'm different, but I want to figure out how I'm different specifically for that market, and what is my difference, what are the impacts and benefits that it's going to drive to my market. So the first step of standing out is knowing who you're trying to stand out to, getting clarity on that market. Then the next steps is understanding your unique advantage, and that just has to do with your skills, your experience, your connections, things like that are going to help you be able to separate yourself from the market. Yeah, a niche is a part of the differentiator, right? So one of my biggest differentiators is that I'm a coach specifically in the recruiting industry. But if I were just a coach in the recruiting industry, there's plenty of me out there. That doesn't do enough, right? So you want to be looking at what are multiple things that do differentiate you, right? So for example, one of the other things that differentiates me is I've never owned a recruiting firm. And that's a huge advantage because I'm not coming in with the same lens. I'm coming in from a completely different perspective. I'm coming in from a digital marketing perspective in this industry. So some people might think that's a knock. For me, I think that's a huge competitive advantage. That way you're not learning the same thing over and over and over again that's been taught in this industry, that's keeping a lot of people on this revenue roller coaster. Okay. The last thing is you want to focus on, once you understand who you're trying to stand out to, once you start looking at your differentiators, then you want to actually build a positioning statement. Okay. And your positioning statement is essentially how you want your market to view you. Okay. I help recruiting agencies generate inbound leads by leveraging the power of automation, digital marketing, and personal branding, for example. Okay. That's just something I just came up with off the top of my head, but that's kind of how you can create a very simple positioning statement. Now, you want to take that statement, you want to make sure that's on all your digital assets. And the most important one is going to be your LinkedIn profile, because that's where most of us, that's our biggest sandbox that we're playing out of. Okay. So that's the first step of the relevant recruiter method, is standing out in the marketplace. And if you don't have that part right, it's going to be very hard to capture the attention of your market and actually get an inbound lead. Okay. Now, once you understand how you can stand out from the marketplace and do that digitally, the next thing you want to do is you really want to turn LinkedIn into a lead machine here. And the way that we do that is we want to, first and foremost, we want to start stocking our pond, start growing our social media networks, our LinkedIn's, our Facebook, Instagrams, YouTubes, wherever we're having a presence. We want to start doing that with our ideal audience. Okay. And again, this is where having that target market is so important, is knowing exactly who our audience is. And then once we're growing our audience, we want to start creating meaningful conversations with these individuals every day. So many people connect with people on LinkedIn, grow their network, but then they don't usually actually use the profile or their platform in the way it's designed, which is to actually socially network. And a lot of that just has to do because people aren't sure of the approach. Now, I can tell you the one approach you don't want to use is you don't want to be another person that connects with somebody on LinkedIn and immediately goes into selling your services. This used to work about 5 years ago. I used to do it, and it worked very effectively. The problem is now everybody else has kind of jumped on board, and it creates a really poor user experience. So just by changing your approach, by asking thoughtful questions that are relevant to their industry, to your target market, can create great dialogue. Not asking for virtual coffees and wasting everybody's time is also an approach to avoid. But looking at, maybe some valuable resources that you can share with your market. Those are great ways to start meaningful conversations. But one of the biggest things you can do here is look at how you can automate the parts of this platform, because that allows you to go from just a one-on-one approach, right? Reaching out to people manually, which yes, you should do. But on top of that, if we can look at some automation, that will allow you to go from one to one to one to many. And, a lot of the stuff in this game, in this industry, the reality of it is it's a numbers game. We need to be touching more people. But we need to be doing it in a way that is tasteful and is going to be well received by the market. And again, the way to do that is be targeted so that we can create common language with our audience. Okay. As I go through this, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it in there. If you have any comments, let me know. I'd love to hear your feedback. If this is valuable for you right now, go ahead and give it a like, a love, or whatever platform you're on. Just push that button. All right. So the next thing, so we've got standing out, we've got, turning LinkedIn and lead machine. And the ultimate result of the LinkedIn lead machine is you're leveraged, right? And so many folks aren't leveraged yet in this industry, where all of their effort and all their results are based off of, their hustle. And I'm not telling you not to hustle, but you should be looking at other tools and machines that can push harder for you, And that helps, bridge some of those gaps when we're not always on. We're not always on as human beings. We always love to be on, but the reality of it is there's good days and bads, and that's where the automation kind of comes into play, helping you with a bigger reach there. So the next thing that you'd want to do is you want to start really creating content for your audience. Okay, so you're going to connect with people, you're going to start conversations with them. If we're just talking about a platform like LinkedIn, but the reality of it is the majority of people are not going to engage with your direct outreach. And that has nothing to do with you. I certainly wouldn't take that personal. Again, people are busy, timing may not be right. People don't check their LinkedIn profiles as much as we do in the recruiting industry and other industries. So, there's a lot of different things. And that's why it's so important that you start to create the content, because the content is going to be the ultimate driver for the inbound lead. So how should we focus on creating content? Well, our ultimate goal is to get people to know, like, and trust us. We've heard that for years, but there's ways you can do that through your content. There's so many people that I get on the phone with that I have never interacted with formally online, but get on the phone with me as a result of the content that I'm creating. Okay. Now, the first thing I'll tell you with content is you can do it. All right. I know for a lot of folks that putting themselves out there is the biggest hurdle that they need to get over with content. A lot of that has to do with just some internal work of, maybe not thinking that you're worthy for the attention. Maybe you don't think your opinion matters. And I can tell you that your opinion does, and that you can do it. The easiest way to start creating content is to share what's happening in your day. I'm going to give you permission right now to share the most basic things in your life, just so you can start building out this muscle and building out this habit. And you have to give yourself some grace. There's people that have been creating content for years and years and years, and those people are going to be ahead of you. But you have to allow for your own journey and start creating now. If you haven't created now, I want you to create something today. It can be just like, hey, I watched a live training today that told me to start creating content, so I'm going to go on this journey. And it's amazing what just sharing your day, keeping this a part of your day, can do for you. So the next thing is, if you were to break it into 3 buckets, right, of, hey, personal bucket, so people can get to know who I am, authority type of a bucket, so people can get to like and trust me, and then the proof bucket, which really drives home the trust. Now, the personal stuff, it's not so much like, hey, I've got a cute cat and here's a picture. What I usually recommend is telling a personal story, and taking a personal experience and then translating that and turn that into value for your audience. Okay. Be sharing things that are a part of your lifestyle, things that are going on. Again, what are your current events? So last week I had the opportunity to speak at MRI. You better believe that I've posted about that a couple of different times. One, so people can see, my experience. And then I shared other lessons that I learned from my experience at MRI. Easy, low-hanging fruit content. Again, it builds the authority and the credibility. The next bucket is that value bucket. And this is where you want to be looking at, what is the thought leadership for your market? What are your clients doing that are frustrating you when it comes to the interviewing processes? What are your opinions about remote work? Not doing what everybody else is doing. What is your opinion on it? And this is where a lot of people, want to try to play safe. And it's okay to have an opinion, because the opinion really is what's going to attract people. Good content is going to push part of the market away, and it's going to bring another part of the market forward. And by having strong opinions, then that really will support all of that. Okay. So other things that we can be talking about in the value thing are sharing your process and your methodology. If you don't have a process and methodology, like we're talking about the relevant recruiter method right now, that's something that you should really focus on, because a process and methodology will help differentiate you. It will help you scale, because a lot of times your clients are attached to maybe you, the business owner. Well, when you have a process or methodology, that's going to give them more confidence that the rest of the team can deliver. Okay. So those are the kind of the value buckets that you want to be looking at. And again, it doesn't always have to be educational content where it's a bunch of how-to. A lot of times it's just explaining to people the what and the why can be just as impactful for them to keep them moving forward. And that's what your content should be doing, is you focus on moving your audience forward. Okay. The last thing is in the relevant recruiter method is what we call the multi-platform scaling. And what this has to do with is, kind of goes back into that busyness thing. And this is something that I don't think is relevant in all industries as much as it is, especially in the recruiting industry. You should be good on the phone. You should be good in email. You should have data scraping tools that you're using to get people's contact information. You should send text messages, and then you should have a great presence on multiple social media channels. Now, I'm not telling you to do all of this tomorrow. Okay. When you're looking at the multi-platform scaling, this is the much bigger picture. And what you should do this is roll this out strategically. And what I mean by that is you shouldn't move on to another platform until you've fully dominated LinkedIn. You need to dominate LinkedIn. The next easiest platform from there is the email. But then we'll start looking at other social media channels. That's where it really is going to vary from each individual in each company, because what might work on YouTube for some audiences won't work on others, and Facebook and Pinterest and all these different platforms. Okay, that's where there's a little bit of market research. Each platform is going to have different ways that you want to show up based off of what that audience is going to expect on that platform. But don't think that your people just do business on LinkedIn. So many of my clients come from these other platforms. Facebook, some of you guys are watching me on my Facebook group right now. Some of you might be watching live on my YouTube channel right now. Some of you might be watching live on LinkedIn. This is one click of the button. This is one effort for me, and it's going across multiple different platforms where I have these audiences, and that allows me to connect with more people. But again, what I want to drive home is there's definitely a right and a wrong way to do this, and you don't want to start trying to become the master or jack of all trades and master of none. Okay. And so that's why usually with most of my clients in the relevant recruiter method, we're focusing on purely dominating that one platform, and that platform being LinkedIn. And then we expand from there. But when we're kind of seen everywhere in the marketplace, that's how we become the most top of mind choice. We know even in a market like this, not every single one of your clients is hiring. Not every single individual is going to be ready to change jobs. Right. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to stay top of mind. But going back to that earlier point, if you're just top of mind on the phone, what about the person that's top of mind on the phone, the email, and is on social media? When it comes time for your client to choose, who are they going to pick? The person who maybe just reached out on the phone that one, the week before they were choosing to hire, or somebody who's constantly in front of them, building a relationship with them and adding value to them through their content. Okay. So those are the 4 elements of the relevant recruiter method. We help you stand out in the marketplace. We help you leverage your LinkedIn and leverage your desk by going from one to one to one to many. We help you create content that converts those inbound leads. And again, if you haven't had an inbound phone call yet, it's a life changer for your business. And you want to show up on multiple platforms. And multiple platforms, honestly, that's for the biggest players. Those are for people that really, truly want to dominate their industry, are people that are looking at, having presence across multiple platforms. Now, here's a real quick story. I was recently, like I said, just back out in Dallas, and I connected with my buddy, John Randolph. John went through my program right in the beginning of the pandemic. And John was straight, traditional desk, old school, tons of outbound phone calls. And, we put John through the Relevant Recruiter program, helped him implement the Relevant Recruiter method. And it was awesome because I was out having dinner with John, and his wife came and joined us for a few minutes. And she thanked me because he hasn't had to make a single outbound call since going through the program on the BD side. Everything is coming to him now organically. So it can happen, even if you've only done it one way. If you're willing to play big and step outside of your comfort zone, you have no idea what having a good inbound automated lead generation system can do for your business. And again, if you're not hitting the numbers that you want to hit, if you don't think you're fully taking advantage of the market that's out there right now, this is the time to take action. And even if you are incredibly busy right now, there's no better time to set up a system when you're busy. A lot of the folks that are going through my program right now, they're in a complete position of power because they don't have to rush. We don't have to try to generate quick wins. We can build out the system while they're already making revenue, right? And that puts you into a position of power. You may not think of it mentally. You're not worried about when your next placement or your next, fill is going to come in. You already have a loaded pipeline. So let's continue to load that pipeline. Let's continue to build that system. So if you are interested in this being your best year, if you're looking to play at your best, if you're looking to grow your recruiting business, if you're struggling with growing the business right now, or if you're just looking to put a little gravy on top, I invite you to hop on the phone with me. Go to DonnieGupton.com/book a call, drop a comment below, send me a direct message on the platform, whatever aligns with you. And we'll talk you through the Relevant Recruiter method and how it can apply with your business. And that starts with you getting clarity with where you're at in your business right now, where you want to go. And then we talk about how the Relevant Recruiter method can get you there. Whether we do business or not, I can guarantee you this will be one of the most powerful calls that you can have this year, just to get you clarity and help you see where there's some opportunity for you in your business to grow. So if that's you, if you're hungry right now, go ahead. Like I said, go to DonnieGupton.com/book a call, schedule a time on my calendar there, or send me a direct message, or drop a comment below, and I will get back to you. This could definitely be the most powerful call of the year for you. We're changing people's lives with the relevant recruiter method, just like I was talking about with John, but the list goes on and on. Glenn just joined my program 2 weeks ago, already has leads for candidates coming in. Allison just joined my program about 3 weeks ago, has already made placements. People are coming in, they're taking heavy action, and they're seeing a result of that action. So I invite you to take that action right now. Sergey, I see you have a comment here. You mentioned recruitment automation, hence you definitely need to check. Simplified Chrome extension allows you to save time. Thank you, Sergey. I'll go ahead and take a look at that, that tool there that you mentioned. But for the rest of you, if now's your time, drop a comment, send me a message. Let's talk about how we can grow your business into being the most relevant recruiting authority in your market. This is Donnie Gupton. We'll see you next week. Talk soon.